Clippers lost a close one in Minnesota last night. They fell short to the Timberwolves 108-106. A strong game from Clippers center Avika Zubac, 17 points, 16 rebounds, and 6 block shots. Kawhi Leonard, playing in his second game this season, remains on a minutes restriction to protect his right knee. Leonard had 8 points in 21 minutes. The Clippers are at Denver Wednesday night. The Lakers are back in action tonight. They're at Dallas. The UCLA women's basketball team, ranked number 1 in the nation, is at Purdue tonight. The Bruins are 15-0, 4-0 in the Big Ten. USC's women's basketball team, ranked 4th in the country, is at number 8 Maryland Wednesday night. The Chargers made an interesting move on Monday. They signed free agent running back Ezekiel Elliott. Elliott was cut by the Dallas Cowboys last week. The Chargers might use him in Saturday's wildcard playoff game at Houston. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is for all the folks who appreciate follow-through. Here's a quick recap of the KBLA Talk 1580 2024 Climate Justice Campaign. More than 6.4 million Southern Californians viewed our climate justice billboards and bus shelters. Another 1.5 million people listened to and or downloaded our weekly conversations with African-American climate experts. Our KBLA Climate Justice web portal had 2.8 million unique visitors. Thousands more attended our 7 climate justice community events. More than 9.3 million riders saw our climate care messaging on metro buses and trains. And 39 million Americans accessed our C-SPAN Climate Justice Symposium. All told, our 2024 Climate Justice Campaign exceeded 471 million total impressions. KBLA Talk 1580 thanks all of our 2024 Climate Justice partners: LADWP, Metro, Caltrans, Sierra Club, California Community Foundation, the California Endowment, LA City Council member Curran D. Price Jr., the California Wellness Foundation, MWD, AQMD, and the Port of Los Angeles. Caring about the climate, caring about the community, changing the conversation. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
What is the world coming to? Seems like everyone is running from the truth. We just stand up and fight, walk into the night. We're the people, we can do it if we try. Somebody ask me, why do we have to go through it? It's just a test of our faith. But we're living day to day. We don't know where, we don't know when, but it's coming back again. Oh, yes, it is. It's made me. Oh, God, it's time for you to return. Oh, Lord, me. I know. Time to make a change. Hello, and welcome to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner. It is absolutely time, you all, time to make a change. Dr. West, how you feeling today?
I'm always feeling full of joy when I get a chance to spend time with you. And you know that is the truth. I'm telling you. But you know, we should say something about that rich music, the Winans,
yes,
artistic giants coming out of Detroit. And I'm sitting here in Harlem looking at St. Nicholas houses. That's exactly where Teddy Riley was born. New Jack Swing. Artistic genius. You mean,
yes.
The record of Dangerous of Michael Jackson. And we ain't even talking about Guy and Blackstreet and Aaron Hall and all of that rich tradition flowing through the Winans as well as Ted Riley. And actually, you know, Bernard Bell, who was the husband of Regina Bell, both of them, artistic twosome and duo, he helped write that record too. So it's time. Truth time is always the right time. And that is what we are here to do. Try to tell the truth. Keep this resistance and remembrance and reverence and resilience alive and well in this very, very dim and grim moment in the history of the country.
That is a perfect framing, Dr. West, on what we seek to do here on Truth Time. And we are in a moment. There's a zeitgeist happening right now.
Zeitgeist.
Yeah, I love that word zeitgeist, but it's
I
happening.
love the way you say it.
Zeitgeist. It's happening, Doc. It really is. And how blessed are we to have this moment and this opportunity to opine, as Brother Tavis Smiley would say.
Brother Tavis, he can say that word, though.
He can on what is happening in the zeitgeist. So, Doc, to everybody that has joined us today, we got two hot topics. We may mix some other stuff in there, but we are going to talk about the fact that the second inauguration, let me put it that way, of President-elect Donald J. Trump is actually going to happen on MLK Day.
Oh.
It's happened one other time, I believe 28 years ago, but we're going to talk about the significance of that beyond just the obvious that people may be thinking. And also, President Biden's administration has notified Congress that it is about to ship $8 billion more of weapons, a weapon sale to Israel to continue its war. Some people say war in Gaza. Doc, I say war on Gaza. So we really have a lot to cover.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. No, again, we have a deep, deep gratitude to Brother Tavis for allowing us this kind of platform to try to speak these truths with deep love, with deep sense of style and smile, but also recognizing that we're talking about life and death issues. We really are.
We are, and the two are really intertwined. So I can't wait until we go deeper, because even in talking about the inauguration of President Donald J. Trump on MLK Day, and also talking about not just what is happening in Gaza to the Palestinians, to the volunteers, volunteer trucks have been bombed, innocent civilians, 90% of that population has been impacted. Not hundreds, but thousands of people have been killed. There's a link, Doc, to that.
Absolutely.
There's a link, war. Asa Philip Randolph, I want to bring this for, I wasn't going to say it this early, but one of my favorite quotes of his is, make wars unprofitable and you will make them impossible.
Ooh, Philip Randolph telling the truth.
How about that?
Telling the truth. But every empire we know is tied to wars. Every capitalist system we know is tied to profits. And Martin Luther King Jr. was a PROPHET prophet.
Come on.
Keeping track of the PROFIT profits.
Doc, now you're doing something today. We will definitely break that down. But just think about that. I mean, it really just boggles my mind how people think that it is okay to allow the war machine to persist and for us to have peace and a more perfect union. The two things don't go together. They're really incongruent in my mind.
Dude, you absolutely right. And just think about it, though. The notion that Trump is going to be inaugurated on King Day is like Scrooge receiving ovation on Christmas, or Barabbas getting a standing ovation on Easter. That the level of incongruity and lack of symmetry. King set in such a high level. We're going to talk about his struggles against racism, materialism, and poverty, and militarism.
Yes.
Those are the four pillars that we always look through, or the lens through which we look through when we understand any society, including America. And when we look at the Trump administration or the Obama administration or any other administration, we got moral and spiritual standards that we always acknowledge. That's what it means to take truth time seriously and truth talk in truth time seriously.
That's absolutely correct, Doc. And, just even thinking about the recent death of President Jimmy Carter, he wrote a whole book about what is happening, what has been happening to Palestinians. And one of his, this is not his exact quote, but he definitely put out there that we need to care about what is happening to other people's children. In other words, we can't be around the world bombing other people's children without, in fact, thinking about what is happening, what could happen, and the impact that it will have on our own children. Doc, when we come forward, we are going to continue this deep conversation about the $8 billion that comes up to about 17.5 billion already that the United States has given to the state of Israel to make war against Palestinians. When we come forward, we are going to continue this conversation. You are listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner on KBLA Talk 1580.
Truth to power. And to the powerless. This is Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner.
Cashback is not available on gas.
No.
Hey, good morning. You're heading to the airport, right?
Yep, thanks for checking. I like the car. How long have you been a rideshare driver?
About 3 years now. I really enjoy it.
Isn't it hard to make money these days with the price of gas being so high?
Not for me. I use Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app?
Yep, I get real cash back every time I get gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code TOOL for an extra 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code TOOL for a 25 cents a gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code TOOL.
Somebody bring out the confetti, baby!
Starting Monday, January 6th, KBLA Talk 1580 has a new midday lineup.
I'm excited.
Are you ready for Tavis Smiley, Dr. Cornel West, Jesse Jackson Jr., D.L. Hughley, and E. Cordelai Corte back-to-back?
Oh, my God.
Are you really ready for all this smoke?
I'm ready, brother.
Yes, we still have Dominique DePrima in the mornings and Zoe Williams in the evenings, but middays just got lit on KBLA Talk 1580.
We on fire.
All across America, people are talking about our new midday lineup. Starting Monday, January 6th, our KBLA 1580 app downloads are on fire because everybody's going to be tuning in.
Yes, I love you guys. You are the bomb.
Now would be a good time to hit up SMB at KBLA1580.com if you want folks to hear about your business or brand. That's SMB at KBLA1580.com. It's going up in 2025 on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's going up.
That's what I want.
One thank you. Yeah.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
Yeah.
Somebody's been praying for me.
Thanks to the generous support of the KBLA Talk 1580 delegation, we were able to donate 545 pounds of coats and blankets to the LA Mission this winter season.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
The LA Mission expressed its deep gratitude for our gift all over social media, but we wish to thank them and all the other service providers who look out daily for the less fortunate in our community, finding our happy by being helpful.
Hallelujah.
We're KBLA Talk 1580, where we do more than just talk.
Somebody's been praying for me.
To thine own self be true. More of Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner coming your way right now on KBLA Talk 1580.
Here we are. And if you are just joining us today, Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner, Truth Time. If you have missed any portion of our show, all you have to do is download the KBLA Talk 1580 app, baby, and you can catch up. Dr. West, some folks may need to catch up with us. So I just want to remind folks that we today are talking about telling the truth about the Biden administration's $8 billion additional dollars weapon sales to the state of Israel, and also the fact that President-elect, for the second time, Donald J. Trump will be inaugurated on the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. I know some heads are exploding on that, Doc. We are going to break this down the way that only we can do. So Doc, I want to give some folks some factoids, and then you and I just gonna opine on those things. And so the State Department has, informed Congress that it plans to give $8 billion worth of weapons to the state of Israel to continue to make war on Gaza. Again, Dr. West and I do understand some people say war in Gaza. It really is the war on Gaza and on Palestinians, because this is not equal here. And if we're going to tell the truth about this, Dr. West and I are going to tell the truth about this. And this adds to a record of $17.9 billion in military aid that the United States has provided since Hamas attacked, and that is a fact, on October the 7th, 2023, innocent Israeli citizens. Now, those are the facts. Dr. West and I, we tell the truth on all sides of this thing. And so that, let's just talk about that, and then I'll bring some other points out.
Yeah, no, indeed, my dear sister. Well, the condition of truth is to allow suffering to speak. You can't really tell the truth about yourself. You can't tell the truth about America. You can't tell the truth about Gaza. You can't tell the truth about any human phenomena without first allowing the suffering to speak. And usually, as we hear in the song by the Winans, people are running from the truth. They're scared to confront the suffering, and they're running from the truth. That's why when I mentioned Barabbas, the people refused the truth, and Barabbas was embraced. When I mentioned A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens and Scrooge, running away from the truth and love. And when it comes to Gaza, do people have the courage to come to terms with the truth about what has been going on? How could it be that Jewish peoples who have been hated, terrorized, and traumatized for 2,500 years, that Jewish suffering is real, is raw, they then get their nation state, and they terrorize and traumatize and subordinate and dominate Palestinians? Well, it's part of the cycle of human history. Human beings are human beings, and we have to be accountable and tell the truth about anybody. We got to tell the truth about when Jews are suffering. Got to tell the truth about when Palestinians are suffering. And we got to tell the truth about when Black people are suffering, when Indigenous people are suffering, when Mexicans are suffering, when white brothers and sisters are suffering. This is a moral and spiritual matter. And that's why the very fact that King Day becomes a moment in which Trump is inaugurated, and King is saying, don't we realize that bombs dropped in Vietnam fall in ghettos in America, barrios and reservations in America? $17.5 billion facilitating genocide, massive massacres. Every university, 13 universities gone, 95 professors killed, over 265 students killed, 17,000 children killed. And people come back to us and say, well, you recognize that the Palestinians have killed innocent Israelis. Yes, we do recognize that. And we are critical of any innocent life being lost. But as you say, when you look at the relation of power and you have a peoples who are receiving major money and military support from the biggest empire in the history of the world, United States supporting Israel, and Palestinians out here all on their own for the most part. You got a little support from Iran, and a few other countries, but that's it. They out there all by themselves. It's like black folk in Mississippi in the 1920s. We out there just all by ourselves. Nobody supporting us whatsoever. Well, this is a moral and a spiritual issue, and we got to raise our voices.
And Dr. West, on the point of the moral side of this, because I've had conversations, and I'm sure you probably have too, especially when it comes to the similarities. It's not exactly the same, but the similarities historically of what Palestinians have had to endure and what Black Americans have had to endure. And let me put a finer point on the notion of Black Americans. I am talking about those who are descendants of enslaved people here in the United States of America. There are some similarities to the dominance, to the genocide, to the dehumanization of the othering of Palestinians, in the same way that in this country is, descendants of enslaved people have been othered, so that the dominant power forces can then justify not seeing the humanity of others. And so for me, when I hear people say, well, why should we care about what is happening over there when we have so much trauma and drama and pain in the United States of America? I often think to myself and say to people in conversation, more than one thing can be true at the same time. And I know, Doc, you have faced some criticisms. I've definitely faced some criticism that we're not talking about the other issues, the pain points of Black Americans in this country, the pain points of marginalized people in this country, the pain points in Sudan and Haiti and the Congo and Yemen and other places in this world that would take almost a lifetime, unfortunately, to talk about the ebbs and flows of the abuse of power. But I don't think we should trade the humanity of anybody. In other words, we can talk about all of those things and be cognizant of all of those things at the same time, and not. I feel like some folks who are on that side of, why are you talking about them when we got problems over here? What happens over there happens over here. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said that what happens to one directly happens to all, happens to other folks indirectly. So that is my way of saying what happens over there happens over here. And I don't think that the same forces that would bomb a Palestinian child, those same forces, that same power dynamic, they don't care whether a child in Cleveland eats or a child in Chicago or a child in LA. It's the same power dynamic. Doc, am I on to something there, or am I just not right about this?
You are upholding the rich legacy of Fannie Lou Hamer, Martin Luther King Jr. And it means you are willing to speak the truth to Black people, to any people, in terms of a moral embrace of all who suffer. If somebody calls us for a rally to talk about genocide in Sudan, we're there. If somebody calls us a rally to defend our precious brothers and sisters in Haiti, we're there. Brothers and sisters in Guatemala, we're there. Young folk in Iran, we're there. Muslims in China, we're there. Black folk in America, we already there. In fact, we might be calling the rally itself. But we have a moral consistency. But the sad thing is, we got a real genocide going on now for 15 months every day, with precious babies, Palestinian babies and men and women being killed. And hardly any politician can say a mumbling word. When Martin said justice is indivisible and injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, those are not just words. Those are truth talking in truth time living. And that's precisely what we have to hold up in this moment in which Trump is moving toward the White House, because he's going to continue the same policy as Biden and Harris. And I know we got a lot of Black folks who say, well, why are you critical of Sister Harris? She wasn't behind the policy. We didn't hear her voice. She succumbed. She
And
deferred.
She did.
She pushed back, Mark.
And not even when she was running for president, when she had the opportunity to separate herself, which is hard. I will give that. You being the current vice president, you're running for president, you got to kind of walk a fine line between criticizing the very administration that you are part of. However, there was a point during the campaign that President Biden gave her the permission, and I'm putting that in air quotes, to break away, so to speak. And she did not, absolutely did not break away from the policies of the United States when it comes to Israel and not putting conditions. I believe that the United States, for any country that we provide funding for, there has to be conditions on that. Furthermore, there are laws, both international laws and our own domestic laws. The Leahy Law of the United States of America makes it very clear. And then we have the Foreign Assistance Act, I think it's 620I, that is very explicit that when the president of the United States of America is made aware that a nation that we are providing weapons to are harming civilians, crossing the line, that we, no, these are our laws, that we didn't make this up, that we, our nation, is not supposed to supply those weapons. And I mean, that can be any nation, not just Israel, any nation. My grandmother used to say, you pay the cost to be the boss. So now if we funding something, we got a right to ask questions.
Absolutely. No, you're telling the truth. And I think the crucial thing is that these laws just can't be pen put to paper with no follow through, no execution. America's had some beautiful laws, antitrust laws, monopoly still in place, voting rights laws going back to 1860s. You got to rewrite them over and over again because you can't execute them on the ground. We are talking about trying to ensure that our voices are raised. Lift Every Voice is the anthem of the tradition from which we come. Making sure our voices are raised and being strong and not being intimidated by folks, trying to make us feel like somehow we're the ones out of touch with reality. No, if folk want to be deferential to genocide, deferential to mass massacres, deferential to the killing of innocent folk, no matter who they are, then go on and do it. We refuse to do it. That's part of the legacy of Martin King and Fannie Lou Hamer. We're going to be true to that.
We are going to be true to that on Truth Time. You're listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner on KBLA Talk 1580. When we come forward, we're going to dive into the life, the legacy of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. We're going to tease you up just a little early and talk about the fact that President Donald J. Trump, or President-elect Trump, is being inaugurated on King Day in 2025.
The truth will set you free, but first it might raise your blood pressure.
I'm not jiving you, baby.
More of Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner when we come forward.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 things you should know from BIN News. A vigil will be held tonight in Southeast Memphis to mark 2 years since Tyree Nichols' death. A march this evening will end where Nichols was beaten by officers in 2023. Event organizers say the event honors his memory while calling for accountability and trust in law enforcement. Daniel Penny, acquitted in a black man Jordan Neely's 2023 subway death, is asking to dismiss a civil suit filed by Neely's father, who alleges negligence. Penny's team argues the case should be dropped due to his criminal acquittal. A New York judge has denied President-elect Trump's bid to delay sentencing in his hush money case. Trump, convicted on 34 counts of falsifying business records, argues the case should be tossed due to presidential immunity. And a 7-year-old boy missing for 5 days in South Africa was found safe in a lion-infested park. Rescuers searched after he wandered from his village on December 27th, calling it a true miracle. I'm Amber Payton on the Black Information Network, your home for Black News First.
Your local Staples has hot deals and super low prices throughout the store on everything for your business. And right now at Staples, save up to $175 off your print order. Exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/print for details. Ends 2/1. Plus, save even more with the Easy Rewards program at Staples.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
I'm a bad man.
The Clippers lost a close one in Minnesota last night. They fell short to the Timberwolves 108-106. A strong game from Clipper center Ivica Zubac, 17 points, 16 rebounds, and 6 block shots. Kawhi Leonard, playing in his second game this season, remains on a minutes restriction to protect his right knee. Leonard had 8 points in 21 minutes. The Clippers are at Denver Wednesday night. The Lakers are back in action tonight. They're at Dallas. The UCLA women's basketball team, ranked number 1 in the nation, is at Purdue tonight. The Bruins are 15-0, 4-0 in the Big Ten. USC's women's basketball team, ranked 4th in the country, is at number 8 Maryland Wednesday night. The Chargers made an interesting move on Monday. They signed free agent running back Ezekiel Elliott. Elliott was cut by the Dallas Cowboys last week. The Chargers might use him in Saturday's wildcard playoff game at Houston. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Imagine a Los Angeles where everyone can thrive, where communities have access to the resources they need to succeed. That's the vision of Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. They're dedicated to improving life in LA County by providing educational support, employment assistance, and spaces for community engagement. By 2050, they want LA to be the best place to connect, create, learn, live, and play. They're working toward an education system that's well-resourced and culturally responsive, becoming a hub for artists and innovators, and making sure everyone has access to healthy food, quality healthcare, and safe housing. It's about building a future where we all have the chance to succeed. We invite you to learn more about their mission and get involved with Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The California Crusader newspaper would like to thank all of our subscribers for their support throughout the years, proudly serving the South Los Angeles and South Bay areas for more than 40 years. The California Crusader is a multicultural, Black-owned, adjudicated newspaper that focuses on providing newsworthy information to the people in our community. We're constantly looking for ways to assist businesses in our community to connect with our subscribers. We provide low-cost, effective ways to promote your business with our reasonable and affordable advertising rates. You can participate by suggesting, sharing, and submitting your stories on the California Crusader newspaper Community Share Facebook group page, or visit our website at cal-cruise-news.com. That's calcruisenews.com. Then click on the Submit Now button located on the top right corner of the homepage, or text CCN to 42828. Again, text CCN to 42828. The California Crusader newspaper, working together to build a better community for our future. Subscribe today.
This is where love and truth meet.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
You're listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner.
We are here. Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner. We are having a robust conversation about two intersecting topics. One is the war machine being led by the United States of America. Unfortunately, the Biden administration has informed Congress that it plans to send $8 billion more $8 billion more worth of weaponry to the state of Israel. And this may come as a shock to the system, but President-elect Trump will be inaugurated on the MLK Day holiday. This is only the second time that this has happened where those two things have aligned in the past 28 years. Dr. West, I know heads are exploding on that. So let's jump into that, and all of these things are intersecting here. Glad that we're talking about these two topics together. Hopefully in this dialogue, folks will understand how these two things fit together. So January 20th, 2025, President Donald J. Trump will be inaugurated. It is also the day that we recognize the MLK Day, which is recognized every third Monday by federal mandate every third Monday in the month of January. So Doc, let's go. Let's talk about this.
Well, one is that we have to always acknowledge that King is not an isolated individual. He's a wave in an ocean. He's an extension of a great tradition of a great Black people involved in forging vision for freedom and dignity for Black people and for all human beings. That's the lens through which you look at what's going to take place January 20th. So when you see Trump move toward the center and you say, oh, as we said yesterday, now you got the gangster wing of the Republican Party. And of course, the system itself has gangsterized the society, given the unbelievable weaponizing of hatred and the organizing of greed and the indifference toward the vulnerable. And you say, okay, let's see what he has to say about poverty. Well, let's see what he has to say about poor children. Let's see what he has to say about the homeless. Let's see what he has to say about working people. Let's see what he has to say about the vast, grotesque wealth inequality. Then you move to racism. Is he going to demonize the immigrants again? Is he going to demonize other folk again? Then you have to look at the militarism. Is he going to increase military budget? Is he going to reinforce the genocidal attacks going on? Is he going to expand U.S. military around the world? Then you have to look at materialism. Now he's standing up there as a billionaire. Now this is a spiritual issue. You see, because anybody who just view the world as a gold rush going to end up worshiping the golden calf. And therefore, if he's really just talking about money, and prosperity, he's not talking about quality of relations. He's not talking about character. He's not talking about integrity, honesty, decency, and courage to do the right thing. He's talking about just winning, success. That's the materialism that King himself was critical of. And you have to keep all four of those in mind. Racism, militarism, materialism, and poverty. How are the least of these doing? Because he's a Christian. He's a Christian minister. He comes out of the rich Black Baptist tradition that has produced some magnificent folk. We can start with Aretha and almost end it right there.
In fact, I love how you weave in the music aspect of this whole thing. So really, this is a perfect and unfortunate encapsulation of America.
That's right.
Everything that you laid out, and we tend to be in denial about what is in the DNA of America. As painful as it is, we have all the receipts of what a Trump presidency could look like, and all of the fibers that you just laid out, Doc, about militarism, poverty, racism, all of those things is part of the American DNA, or the American empire, as you laid out, that unless it is forced to do right, it does not do right. And actually, historically, that's true of every empire, and is linked to a notion of us being human beings and being flawed as hell, because we are very flawed. And you know, our as filthy rags, our righteousness is as filthy rags, and we got to go back time and time again. But in terms of public policy and how we push forward, the very people who are going to clutch their pearls, Dr. West, on January 20th, and go out there and wax poetic about how it's such a shame that Donald J. Trump will be inaugurated on that day. Some of those very people, and I'm talking about elected officials in Congress more pointedly, have voted for the war budget, have voted to increase the Pentagon budget, have not pushed to have the John Lewis Voting Rights and Justice Act passed have not pushed to increase the federal minimum wage, will not stand up for universal health care, but yet and still, they're going to clutch a whole lot of pearls and be quoting Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. like they in love with what he stands for.
That's so true.
Hypocrisy.
Oh, and see, Brother Martin around, he would say, look, the kind of moral and spiritual witness I'm trying to bear to keep up a bloodstained banner of a greatness of a grand people who are willing to tell the truth and bear witness. It cuts across parties. It cuts across countries. And it keeps track of systems, and it cuts across systems. Because see, when you start talking about morality and spirituality in relation to poor people being treated with dignity, then both parties fall short. Where's the courage to speak to their situation? Same is true with foreign policy. Even with Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter's being exalted and so forth. But you ask the El Salvadorians what he did in terms of the death camps that were there and his military support of those death camps. Now, he came strong after he left the White House and bounced back. But during his own presidency, where was his stand on the Middle East and Israel? He knew there was an apartheid-like condition going on in the 1970s. Later on, he called it apartheid. It was apartheid-like when you were president, brother. I didn't see your policies reflected your strong language after you were president. That's when people are tested. Now, I'm not putting Brother Jimmy Carter down in terms of what he did after presidency, but it's a different context. And we got to be consistent across the board. We've got to keep our armor on across the board, no matter what the context is. You can't be a summer soldier. You got to be an all-season freedom fighter.
All-season freedom fighter. I love that. You know, life makes hypocrites of us all at some point. And the beautiful thing about laying out the history, a part of the history of President Carter, we got to take the bitter with the sweet. And that's with any leader. But at least President Jimmy Carter saw certain lights after being in office. There are times in our lifetimes where we have people, especially people in high places, who never see the light, Doc. So I'm glad that he did the Habitat for Humanity homes. You know, I built one of those. The mayor that helped to build. I didn't build it all by myself. Let me not embellish that thing. But I remember Mayor Michael R. White, who I worked for. He wanted his cabinet for his 50th birthday to build a Habitat for Humanity home. And we know that that was a part of the brainchild of President Jimmy Carter, along with some others, something that he really invested a lot of time and a lot of energy in. And I got to tell you, Doc, I still carry that feeling with me, even to this day, about being able to pick up a hammer or nail and help with my colleagues build a home for a needy family. And even everything that we're talking about is how do we use our power, our places and spaces to be in service to each other? And how do we hold power accountable without fear or contradiction?
Well, that's a deep one, though, because we are a wretched species. We're wretched and we're wonderful at the same time. And power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And that's why we have to have each other to render all of us accountable. Because you're absolutely right. We all fall on our faces at some point. But when we fall on our faces and think we're flying, we lying. See, that's the problem with Trump. That's the problem with Trump. Trump will say X and you'll see Y, and he'll say, don't believe your own lying eyes. Nope, you the one lying. I'm not lying. I got to touch with reality. You the one imposing your reality on me. People have to be accountable as human beings, though. That's why we don't trash Trump. That's why we don't demonize Trump. We hate any bigotry, hatred, indifference coming out of his heart, mind, and soul the way we hate that coming out of our own souls, coming out of anybody's soul. But we know he's also part of a system. And that system is one that renders too many poor people and working people marginal and bombs too many innocent people in the name of freedom when it's actually just barbarism.
Well, that is it. This is Truth Time. You've listened to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner on KBLA Talk 1580. When we come forward, we are going to continue this robust and meaningful conversation.
It's Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner on KBLA Talk 1580.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks Vapor Stick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks vapors in an easy-to-apply stick, and it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks Vapo Stick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And when you need more comfort for yourself, try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks Vapors. Use as directed. Vapo Stick for use ages 4 and up. Vapo Shower Max, use for adults only.
Hey, can you blow up some balloons for Jack's party?
I can't. I'm so congested.
You need Sinex Saline from Vicks.
Sinex Saline Nasal Spray?
Yeah, just Sinex. Breathe.
Sinex Saline instantly clears everyday congestion associated with colds and year-round allergies with a gentle, ultra-fine mist that's no mess and easy to control.
Daddy, we need more balloons.
On it.
Enjoy life's important moments without congestion. Try Sinex Saline from Vicks. Just Sinex. Breathe. Use as directed.
Somebody's been praying for me.
Thanks to the generous support of the KBLA Talk 1580 delegation, we were able to donate 545 pounds of coats and blankets to the LA Mission this winter season.
Hallelujah, hallelujah.
The LA Mission expressed its deep gratitude for our gift all over social media, but we wish to thank them and all the other service providers who look out daily for the less fortunate in our community, finding our happy by being helpful.
Hallelujah.
We're KBLA Talk 1580, where we do more than just talk.
Somebody's been praying for me.
Taxes was waiting around for your taxes to be done, which led to worrying about not getting any money back. Now Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes in a day to get you up to $4,000 fast with a refund advance loan. Now this is Taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Expert filing only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. Refund advance has $0 loan fees and 0% APR. Refund advance loans may be issued by First Century Bank, N.A. or WebBank. Terms apply, subject to approval.
Truth crushed to earth shall rise again. You're listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner, only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Here we go. Doc, I gotta share something with you. But before I do that, what time is it?
It is Truth Time, which is a good time.
It is a magnificent time. So, Doc, you know what? There are, on our YouTube chat, over 200 people watching live right now. Wow. I want to shout them. I want to shout those 200 plus folks out.
That's beautiful. And we on the move. That's the important thing. And the good news is we would say what we say if there were 2 people or 2 million people, because we're glad to have people listening, no doubt about that, but it's coming from our hearts and souls. And just like Coltrane blowing his horn in the club with 2, or Gladys Knight singing to a crowd of 2,000, it's the same song sung the same way. That's what the kind of people we come from. That's the tradition from which we come. That is our tradition. And when you tell them the truth, hey, you ain't got to make no stuff up. It's consistent. Truth is consistent. But we want to thank the over 200 folks. It's growing right now. People watching live right now. We really appreciate you joining us. This is indeed a beautiful thing. If you are just tuning in, Dr. West and I have been talking about the $8 billion, $8 billion with a B, that the Biden administration has just informed the Congress that it will be given to Israel to help weapon sales to Israel. $8 billion more worth of weapons. Let me just say that. And the interconnection to that and the fact that President-elect Donald J. Trump will be inaugurated this year on the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. This hasn't happened for 28 years. It is happening right now, or will be happening, and we know the heads are going to explode because folks going to make a whole lot about this, and some of those folks making hay about this are not living in the tradition or the spirit of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Dr. West, you know, you edited the book The Radical King while we were
I brought this here to the table. I want to hold it up. I want folks to go and get this book. Let me tell y'all, see all this. But in your, your introduction was so robust. I mean, it really had me just jumping for joy. Just a part of it. You said, for King, the condition of truth was to allow suffering to speak. It is something that is a mantra that you say on a regular basis. In King's eyes, too many Black leaders sacrifice the truth for access to power or reduce sacrificial love and service to selfish expressions or expediency, I should say, for personal expediency and personal gain. Is that still true to this moment?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, it's getting worse. When my dear brother Al Sharpton spoke with power when our brother was killed in Memphis. He said, Martin Luther King Jr. got up on the mountaintop, and I'm going to tell you what he saw. Jim Forbes called me the other day. He said, Brother West, what do you think he saw? Well, Sharpton said he saw Obama and Kamala Harris. I said, no, that ain't what he saw. I can tell you that right now. I don't know what he saw, but that's not what he saw. What do you think he saw? We don't know. We probably saw pharaohs in all colors. And he also saw people fighting no matter what. The beloved community never crushed. Now, Brother Tavis says he saw a new heaven and a new earth, like John the Patmos in Revelation. We don't know what he saw, but we know what he didn't see. He didn't just keep track of Black faces in high places. He kept track of precious faces of all colors, beginning on the Black side and spilling over everywhere. That's Martin King. And he hoped that we could continually put a smile on his face. That's what our show is all about. That's what the whole channel.
And we got to
KBLA 15 Talk 1580. Keeping a smile on Martin's face from the grave and Coretta's grave too.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought up Mrs. Coretta Scott King. She talks about violence, and so we've been talking about violence, and she mentioned that violence against children not eating, violence against women. Like, there are different types of violences, and it's not just with a bomb. You can be violent when people go hungry in this country or unhoused, et cetera, et cetera. And so as we think about the inauguration of President Donald J. Trump on January the 20th, 2025, on the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, let us not get all frantic about the fact that it is Donald J. Trump. There are a whole bunch of other folks who will not be inaugurated on that day, who are going to clutch pearls and pretend as though they are somewhat better, but they are not living, breathing manifestations of what the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Mrs. Coretta Scott King, and so many of their contemporaries who made sacrifices. They don't personify that. All they do is talk the talk, but they are not willing to walk the walk. But speaking of talk the talk, this is Truth Time, baby, with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner on KBLA 1580. When we come forward, we will continue this dialogue.
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Los Angeles Regional Food Bank is on a mission to fight hunger and provide nutritious food to those in need across our community. They partner with federal, state, and local programs advocating for better policies and funding for critical hunger relief programs like Cal Fresh, the Emergency Food Assistance Program, and the Child and Adult Care Food Program. The food bank works with coalitions and local representatives to make sure hunger is addressed in every district of LA County. They also run nutrition education campaigns, raise hunger awareness, and source nutritious food for distribution, all while supporting regulations that allow food pantries to operate safely. Want to help? Visit lafoodbank.org or call 323-234-3030 to volunteer or find a food bank near you. Together, we can ensure that no one goes hungry in Los Angeles County. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Taxes was waiting around for your taxes to be done, which led to worrying about not getting any money back. Now Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes in a day to get you up to $4,000 fast with a refund advance loan. Now this is taxes. Intuit TurboTax. Get an expert now on TurboTax.com. Expert filing only available with TurboTax Live Full Service. Refund advance has $0 loan fees and 0% APR. Refund advance loans may be issued by First Century Bank, N.A. or WebBank. Terms apply, subject to approval.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
This is where love and truth meet.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
You're listening to Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner.
Dr. West, we are continuing our conversation about the presidential inauguration on January the 20th, 2025. That happens to coincide with the national holiday for the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And we started off the show talking about the billions of dollars that the United States has invested to make war against Palestinian people, to allow the state of Israel to do that, because not all Israelis are in support of that. And we know that our Jewish brothers and sisters here, not all of them in the United States are in support of that. I want to shout out Jewish Voices for Peace, Doc, while we're on this finer point, because my God, and my dear Benjamin, her and Nicole Pink ladies, the way they show up every day in Congress to stand up for justice and for peace, and they are true humanitarians in our time. I just want to shout out and send them some love for standing up for justice. And Dr. West, that is the kind of stuff that we're talking about. They're doing it, and it's not in season. It's not fashionable. They're not comfortable in standing up for peace in that way. But these are the type of warriors that the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had in mind. I want to go back to the Radical King real quick, Doc, and get your thoughts on this. Back to that introduction of yours. You said the Radical King was a warrior for peace on the domestic and global battlefields. He was a staunch anti-colonial and anti-imperial thinker and fighter. His revolutionary commitment to nonviolent resistance in America and abroad tried to put a brake on the escalating materialism running amok across the globe. For King, dissent did not mean disloyalty. In fact, dissent was a high form of patriotism. I'm going to just stop right there. I encourage everybody, if you really care to learn more about the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and not just that I had a dream, the way they just try to put the Reverend Dr. King in a box, I recommend you pick up the Radical King, Dr. West.
Well, no, I appreciate that. And every penny goes to the King Center. And most importantly, it's a matter of ensuring that we recognize that peace is not the absence of tension, but the presence of justice. So when King talks about peace, justice is always integral to that peace. And people just get some absence from being challenged for those fighting for justice. No. As long as there's injustice, there's going to be fighting, there's going to be demands, and we will be in that crowd.
And Dr. West, speaking of that justice, that is our time on Truth Time with Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner. We thank you so much. When we move forward tomorrow, we're looking forward to having you there with us. You are on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with 4 things you should know from BIN News. A vigil will be held tonight in Southeast Memphis to mark 2 years since Tyre Nichols' death. A march this evening will end where Nichols was beaten by officers in 2023. Event organizers say the event honors his memory while calling for accountability and trust in law enforcement. Daniel Penny, acquitted in a black man Jordan Neely's 2023 subway death, is asking to dismiss a civil suit filed by Neely's father, who alleges